This week's 1044 is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash. Drug use among transportation professionals is on the rise, but it's not just truck drivers that are flunking the urine tests. Hey everybody, welcome back to the 1044, a weekly webisode from the editors here at CCJ. I'm Jason Cannon and my co-host on the other side is Matt Cole. Outside of a CDL, a clean drug test is probably the most significant barrier to entry for a career in transportation, not only getting in, but staying in. As of May, which is the most recent data available, almost 130,000 truck drivers have found themselves in the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. Almost 97,000 of those are still in prohibitive status, and 72,000 of those haven't even started the return to duty process yet.
Truck driving isn't the only role in transportation to undergo workplace drug screenings. And if those other roles had something like the clearinghouse, a lot of transportation professionals would find themselves entangled in it.
Data compiled by medical lab Quest Diagnostics shows that overall positivity rates in the transportation warehousing industry increased 4.4% in 2020 versus 5.5% in 2021. That's about a 25% increase year over year. Dr. Barry Sample, senior science consultant for Quest Diagnostics, noted that after 5 years of steady declines in several drug categories, positivity rates based on urine drug tests for the federally mandated safety-sensitive workforce increased in 2021. Truck drivers make up most of the federally mandated safety-sensitive group.
In our federally mandated safety-sensitive tests, again, the bulk of which are DOT-covered safety-sensitive transportation employees, while our overall positivity did not go up in that group, as we're looking across all the drugs at positivity at the specimen level, we did see increases in the positivity rates for both marijuana and cocaine in 2021 as compared with the 2020 data. So it was a big increase in marijuana positivity. It went up 8.9%. in the federally mandated safety-sensitive workforce in 2021. And, there was a slight dip that we saw in 2020 in positivity rates for marijuana within that testing group. And it was nearly completely reversed in 2021. In the case of cocaine within the federally mandated safety-sensitive workforce, again, we saw an increase. It went up 5%. Positivity rate, and the first time it's gone up in 5 years. Still down 32% as compared with 2017, but I think it's significant that we did see an increase in cocaine positivity within the federally mandated safety-sensitive workforce.
The increases in marijuana and cocaine use in Quest's data from 2020 to 2021 are reflected in the clearinghouse, and 2022 is trending even worse. Just 5 months into this year, marijuana and cocaine violations in the clearinghouse are on track to surpass 2021's numbers. But again, truck drivers aren't the only professionals in the business flunking urine tests. They're just the group that gets the most attention. The reality is, the general transportation warehouse employees are breaking records, and not the good kind.
Transportation and warehousing industry from a positivity rate perspective. So all of the industries, sectors, saw an increase in 2021 as compared with 2020, except for one, which was mining. While transportation and warehousing didn't have the highest positivity rate in 2021 as compared with the other industries, it experienced the largest increase since 2017. So the overall positivity rate in transportation and warehousing has gone up 57% since 2017. Which really has been led by marijuana positivity. And focusing now at that industry-specific data in the general U.S. workforce, all of the sectors experienced double-digit increases in marijuana positivity between 2017 and 2021. 12 of those 17 had increases greater than 50%, and transportation and warehousing had the largest increase in positivity rate for marijuana. It went up 157% between 2017 and 2021.
There's some ambiguousness around the legalities of marijuana depending on which state you live in. It's either legal, it's not, or it kind of is depending on how you use it, where you got it, and why you need it. But if you're a CDL holder, especially if you're behind the wheel, marijuana is just as off limits as cocaine, as meth, and a host of other illicit drugs. Another drug where there's some gray area is amphetamine, which is currently the number 4 substance identified in positive drug tests among drivers in the clearinghouse. Dr. Sample said, based solely on the number of laboratory positives, amphetamine is higher than cocaine, which is number 2. But many of those positives are thrown out with good reason. He tells us why after this word from 1044 sponsor Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its after-treatment system has traditionally been a double-edged sword. The same engine oil that is so essential to protecting your engine's internal parts is also responsible for 90% of the ash that is clogging up your DPF and upping your fuel and maintenance costs. Outdated industry thinking still sees a trade-off between engine and emission system protection, and Chevron was tired of it. So they spent a decade of R&D developing a no-compromise formulation. Chevron Lubricants developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by a whopping 60%, which reduces the rate of DPF clogging and extends DPF service life by 2.5 times. And just think what you can do with all the MPGs you're going to add from cutting your number of regens. But Delo 600 ADF isn't just about aftertreatment. It provides complete protection, extending drain intervals by preventing oil breakdown. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system, and now you don't. 600 ADF from Delo with OmniMax technology, it's time to kick some ash.
And amphetamine specifically would be higher than cocaine. However, amphetamine is a legal drug available by prescription for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The majority, better than 80% based on medical review officer data, the majority of those amphetamine laboratory positives ultimately are verified negative by the medical review officer because there is a valid prescription on file.
But as Jason mentioned, at the federal level, even a prescription can't get you out of a marijuana violation.
I think it is fair to say that society's attitudes towards marijuana are evolving. Clearly, a proportion of the increase in positivity, at least within our general workforce test, could be a reflection of changing societal attitudes. But as you correctly pointed out before, marijuana remains illegal at the federal level. It doesn't matter if you're in a recreational use state. It doesn't matter if you have a medical marijuana card. You can't use marijuana under any circumstances and maintain your CDL and continue the ability to drive under the federal testing rules.
One of the most alarming sublayers of increasing positivity rates, Dr. Sample said, is how more frequently drug use is identified post-accident among federally mandated safety-sensitive workforce. Again, that's mostly CDL holders. In 2012, the difference between post-accident and pre-employment positives for marijuana was just 2.4%. In 2021, it was more than 63%.
So that is, more than a 25-fold increase in that difference in positivity rates. Again, just because, we're seeing a higher positivity rate on those post-accident tests for marijuana doesn't necessarily mean that marijuana was causative. Person was under the influence or was impaired at the time that they had that accident that prompted the post-accident drug test. But when you see this type of data, it might lead one to suspect, does somebody's habit of using marijuana, is there something about the profile of somebody who's using marijuana, lead them to be more likely to be involved in an incident? It doesn't prove that they're impaired, but it certainly raises the level of suspicion that something about their drug-using habits may be playing a role.
The trends for cocaine positives look pretty similar. In 2012, post-accident positives were roughly 50% higher than pre-employment. In 2021, it more than doubled, even in the face of declining overall positivity rates.
So in fact, in the case of cocaine, while the pre-employment positivity went down between 2012 and 2021, the post-accident positivity increased between 2012 and 2021.
Obviously, any uptick in drug use is concerning, but it's especially concerning when the increased usage can't be explained by the relaxation of laws surrounding it.
Continuing evolution and changes in societal attitudes towards drug use, specifically marijuana use, I think it's entirely possible one may continue to see some year-over-year increases. It's concerning to me that we're starting to see an uptick in cocaine again. Certainly the federally mandated safety-sensitive workforce. And while the urine general workforce test for cocaine went down, the oral fluid general workforce test for cocaine went up. So it was somewhat of a mixed bag. So, something is going on. In the case of methamphetamine, we saw an uptick in methamphetamine positives on the oral fluid drug tests in 2021 as compared with 2020. Didn't see that in urine tests in the federally mandated safety sensitive workforce, but there are still other more classical, if you perhaps illicit drugs like cocaine and methamphetamine that people are going to need to continue to keep their eye on and remain vigilant about. In the federally mandated safety sensitive workforce, while the overall positivity remained unchanged, we did see an uptick in positivity for marijuana and cocaine as the first increase in cocaine positivity in 5 years. So again, something to continue to look at. Maybe on some good news is that our positivity rates for prescription opiates, codeine, morphine, hydromorphone, oxycodone, oxymorphone, continue to decline, both in our federally mandated safety-sensitive tests as well as in the general workforce. And even if we look at the transportation and warehousing industries, positivity rates for those drugs are down. In the case of oxycodones, it's down 50 or more than 50% between 2017 and 2021. So in trying to maintain a safe and productive workforce, I think that's probably a good news story.
That's it for this week's 1044. You can read more on ccjdigital.com, and as always, you can find the 1044 each week on CCJ's YouTube channel. And if you've got questions, comments, criticisms, or feedback, please hit us up at 1044trucking@gmail.com or give us a call at 404-491-1380. Until next week, everybody stay safe.